All right, Gemini, I was very happy, very, very happy with this. And it's going to be about improving the quality of your life. So the monster within, internal struggle, personal challenges, wanting to improve, and then you have joy, joy, joy. Beautiful card. So the monster within talks about changing what you perceive to be as your faults and flaws into your strengths. Now, this could be about you needing to change something about you in terms of the way that you handle situations, for example, especially if they've been preventing you from experiencing joy. Maybe you get, a little bit too frustrated with all the things that you are struggling with and you're not seeing the joy in life. But because of this card showing up, I think that a lot of you are getting past the struggles in order to make a big move in your life, again, to improve the quality of your life. Joy is very much like the Fool. This one talks about the moment after the leap, but it also talks about making a big move physically in your career. It talks about marriage, possibly starting a new relationship. Anything that you consider to be a major life event, this is what you're working toward right now. But here's the thing that gets me. Whatever it is that you've been struggling with, once you've gotten past that point and you've worked past those struggles, this is going to have long-term lasting effects in your life. So this isn't going to be like starting and stopping a diet. This is making a big change in your life in order to have joy in every moment from here on out, which I think is beautiful. A lot of people don't ever experience the joy in life, but Gemini is going to be super focused on this right now. And I think especially for Gemini rising, this could be very true. But there has been something in your life that you've been struggling with. But it is going to improve, and then you will be that conduit for joy, right? Being a little bit more carefree. All right, Gemini, here we go. Here's your overall. What are we stuck on? What's keeping you trapped? Now, there have been times where I've seen the Eight of Swords is actually a good thing, right? Certain thoughts may be preventing you from doing something that you may, I don't want to say regret later, but, doing things that keep you even further entrapped, I think is the best way to put it. But clearly here we're talking about thoughts that are keeping you stuck in one position. You're not seeing the way out, although there is, right? But you may not want to acknowledge it right now. That, or we could be talking about something external or another person here who is stuck, right? And there's nothing you can do about it. But I don't know, I look at the Eight of Swords and think that you may be doing this to yourself. I have no choice but to do this right now. And that may be why we're looking at the monster within here. In the past, the Seven of Pentacles. Okay, so now for a lot of you, yeah, this is going to have to do with career or your finances. With the Seven of Pentacles being the past, we're talking about you taking stock of what you have, right? Reevaluating a situation. What kind of growth have you seen? But what was it that you expected to see? So with this being the past and looking at the Eight of Swords right off the bat, I think that a lot of you are like, no, I have to stay with this because I'm not quite seeing the results yet. But maybe that's not what you should be doing, right? Because I don't feel like the Eight of Swords is of benefit to you right now. So I feel like it's more so about you breaking yourself free of certain thoughts in terms of the kind of personal growth that you want to see. Especially with the monster within, right? But I feel like in terms of the past, whether we're talking about a career or relationship here, I think that a lot of you expected to see better results, but this is what you have for this. But it's keeping you stuck, though. The Six of Wands gets me. I get the concept, right? We finally made it. We finally got married, and everybody's happy, and there's the recognition of the love that's there. But, clearly that's not going to be for everybody. But in the present moment, this is really great, right? The Six of Wands is about overcoming obstacles. It's the coming home. But it's interesting to me because even though you feel like you're doing the right thing and people are recognizing you for it, there is still something that cannot move forward for you. And I have to wonder if this isn't something that maybe you just said, you know what, this is the best that I'm going to see. Maybe it is time to move on, and I think that you do, but your thoughts are still there. But it's interesting because it's not like the Nine of Swords, right? So it's not like fear or regret. It's more of, I think, did I do the right thing here? But clearly in the present moment, you feel like you're doing the right thing and you're being uplifted. That's the thing. There's people around you that are going, you're doing the right thing for yourself right now. But you may be questioning that because maybe you didn't see the full potential of something in the past. And that could have been having to do, like I said, with career, or it could be a relationship here. But we'll see. Okay. So what worries me here is that I think that a lot of you are moving into this place where you're trying to find the strength to hold on to this idea that you are doing the right thing, that maybe moving on was the right choice to do. And I think that you are. That's the thing. I don't feel like you're trapped in a situation here, because you wouldn't be looking at overcoming an obstacle if you were. It's your own thoughts that are keeping you in this place of, I didn't see the full potential. But you don't want to see the truth of that situation, though. So it's very much this like second guessing yourself. But I don't like that strength is coming out. That's interesting to me, because I feel like here it's like you're forcing yourself. You're forcing yourself to see a truth that is not accurate. You know, it's like you're lying to yourself almost. But that's because you still have these thoughts in place that are saying, oh, you know, you didn't see everything yet. You didn't see everything yet. You know, if you would have just opened your eyes and moved a different way, things would have been different. But the thing is that everybody else around you is saying, you're doing the right thing, Gemini. You're doing the right thing, right? And I think that you feel empowered by that. But I don't think that you like the idea of being like trapped in a way of being because of it. You know, it's like finding the strength to say, yes, I did the right thing here. I did the right thing here by moving on from this. But I don't know that you believe that, if that makes sense. Okay, your best path to follow, the Nine of Cups. I love how smug he looks. Like, yes, I have this, and that, and I am comfortable and happy. But in terms of your advice with the Nine of Cups here, what do you really want? You know, and I know that the people that are close to me hate it when I say that, because they want to complain about all the things that are happening that, you know, are not going the way that they want it to, right? But when you pose that question to somebody, what do you really want? You know, they're like, well, I don't know. I want this situation to work out. Well, then stop thinking about what's wrong with it. You know, be happy with what you have right now, but be clear on what it is that you think is going to bring you emotional fulfillment. You know, and I also look at this as like counting your blessings. You know, like maybe this was a good thing for you to do. Don't look at moving on from something that didn't produce the results that you wanted as a bad thing. You know, you can't do the coulda, woulda, shoulda. That's what this feels like. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. There are, you know, more opportunities here for you to find emotional fulfillment, to find what makes you happy. Now, on the other hand, let's look at this in terms of relationships. Okay. So for me, looking at this, I think that the Eight of Swords is talking about a situation that cannot move forward because somebody is stuck in this certain way of thinking. They just don't see how it's possible to move past what you already have seen, with the Seven of Pentacles being the past. With the Six of Wands here, we are trying to overcome this and get this person, or, you know, someone else is trying to get you to see that there is a way past this, and we're trying to find the strength to kind of hang in there while somebody is not moving forward, or while you are unable to move forward. Okay. But what do you really want? What is really going to make you happy? Are you happy with the things that you have? You know, are you happy with this person, right? If this is a relationship. But I do think that for some of you, this is more than that, because we're talking about what is tangible with the Seven of Pentacles, right? Needing to see some physical results for sure. Wow, Gemini. Okay, and here is where we're talking about the big move. And it's interesting to me, for some of you, you may be like literally traveling home. It's interesting. The Six of Wands is one of the few cards in the wand suit that doesn't talk about going traveling. It's coming home. Coming home after the battle, being celebrated for, the temporary win, right? We've won the battle, but we haven't won the war yet. But this is a time to celebrate what you have overcome. But with the Chariot, I think that you have been at a distance from something that makes you feel like you're at home for a while. That's what I want to say. But clearly here we're talking about traveling, moving forward. But with the Eight of Swords, again, we're talking about still being stuck. But I think it, like I said, is more specifically the way that you're thinking. Because you're moving away from something that's not producing results. It's straight up. And it's your own thoughts that are keeping you in this place of, maybe I should have held out, but maybe now I just need to find the strength to say, it just wasn't going to work out the way that I wanted it to. But you're moving here. But we're also talking about self-control, right? For some of you, you may be trying to pick up momentum on something though too. But everybody around you is saying, Gemini, you're doing the right thing. And that is what's sticking out to me more so than anything with the Six of Wands. It's not so much what you have overcome. It's more about the validation of other people. And it's not that you need that for ego purposes. I think that you need that to ease your mind. You may feel like you've given up on something, but I don't think that you have, because it's more about, wish fulfillment and happiness here, right? And again, quality of life. But yeah, we're talking about a major move here, right? Taking control of where you are headed. But in terms of literal travel, it's traveling home, or somewhere where you feel like you are at home, where you're celebrated, uplifted. I just don't like that Eight of Swords. That's what bothers me. Okay. Your hopes and fears, the Hermit. So, and this is what I'm talking about. The Hermit, it's not just about removing yourself from people and situations and going into solitude. It's about no longer needing to have that validation from without, because you are looking within. Now, and again, you're looking at the entire process that you've just been through. Am I doing the right thing here? Everybody else seems to think you're doing it, but I don't know that you believe that. But, I look at the Hermit and think, what was the original goal? What was the original hope, desire, wish, right? And for some of you, it's fearing that you can't see how this move is better for you. It's funny because it has an unfinished business type of feeling, but it's not though. And that's the thing. You think it is, but it's not. That was all you were going to see of that situation with that Seven of Pentacles. And you know this, but I think you question it. I don't really feel bad about the Hermit here. I just worry that, if you don't do the deeper soul searching and asking yourself, the bigger questions, what do you want? What do you really want, right? You will be stuck in this place of the Eight of Swords, and it's going to take you forever to get past those thoughts. That would be the only bad thing there. But I think that this is something that's needed. Maybe a time away from listening to what other people think and start looking at, how you think and feel about what you've experienced. Wow, Gemini. Oh, geez. The World coming out. So you're going to get closure on this. You have to. You have to. Otherwise, you'll always be going, well, maybe it could have been different if I did that. No, don't do that shit to yourself. Don't go into those places. With the World coming out, you're going to get closure on this situation that only produced so much for you, and you're going to be able to move on successfully. But you have to take the next steps to do this. But you can't do it if you're in this place of, well, there's this and then there's this. Get rid of those thoughts, right? And for a lot of you, it's finally finding the courage to close the door on a big chapter in your life right now. You've reviewed it enough. What do you want now? Whatever you're doing in the present moment is moving you past this and this. These two things, I think, are the issue. Looking back at a past situation and going, there could have been more. when you know better. But I love the world coming out on this, you know, and I feel like with strength, it's like a double-edged sword. It really does feel that way. Don't force yourself to do something that doesn't make you feel comfortable because other people are telling you that this is the right thing to do. Do it because you feel like it's the right thing for you, right? And that, I feel like, is where the Hermit is coming through. But that could go either way. You could go into this place of mental solitude where you're just stuck with these thoughts but not really doing anything about it. Or you can get past it and find that closure with the world. But it's about your happiness, your emotional fulfillment right now with that Nine of Cups, right? But also being grateful for what you do have that brings you that happiness. Again, better quality of life. Okay, so we're talking about definitely communication here, but we're also talking about, you know, very much like an ace, a new start, a new beginning here with these pages. So with the Page of Wands here, what I feel like has happened in terms of the past that you're getting closure on, there may have been like a communication for you to do something that you haven't experienced before. That is the Page of Wands, but it's about having enthusiasm and excitement about doing this. But you only got to the Seven of Pentacles. And we're still talking about reevaluating, but your thoughts are only reevaluating it in a way where, you know, everybody else thinks you did the right thing, but you may be questioning it. And I think that that's because there may have been some bad news that came out. The Page of Swords, like I've always said with this one, this little bastard bothers me. I don't like the Page of Swords. Now, in a positive way, the Page of Swords is going to be about dealing with difficult information with intelligence and grace, right? It's not the news you want to hear. There's no way to spin the Page of Swords where this is good communication, okay? It just doesn't work that way. It's difficult. And I think that whatever communication came out, you may have lost enthusiasm and excitement. And I think that for you, it is about moving on and moving away from something that may have been, you know, important to you. Because I'm looking at that Page of Wands and I'm thinking Gemini had a really, you know, a really big passion for this, you know, an opportunity to start something really, really good here. But I think that this is just a stepping stone. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, this is something that was not meant to work out or not meant to be fulfilled because something else may have been lacking, which is why we're looking at the Nine of Cups and the need for you to move on, right? But you're definitely going to get closure on the situation, even if, you know, the information that is coming out in the present moment isn't, you know, exactly helpful, right? But with Temperance here, you're handling it well. I'll say that. This is, you know, not getting too emotional, not, you know, losing control here, and then you have strength with this, right? But it's also about not forcing yourself to do something that doesn't make you comfortable. But I think it's more so your thoughts are keeping you stuck in what could have been. But I think that you're coming from a place now where you're trying to be a little bit more balanced when it comes to kind of like closing the door on this and saying, okay, this chapter is closed. Even though it may not have been something that you wanted to end in this way, it's still creating, you know, a successful situation for you. And there will be, you know, something new happening in your life after this point. I mean, certainly you're not going to be stuck. But, you know, be careful about what you're doing to yourself in terms of thoughts, you know. And again, it doesn't have anything to do with fear or regret, which is interesting to me because I would have expected to see something like the Nine of Swords, but what I'm getting is a little bit different here. But I really do think that Gemini, you know, I understand not wanting to be in this place of depending on what other people think. But I do think that they're helping to uplift you right now because it may be something that you need. Because this is a little bit like, ouch. You know, it's not devastating. But this is just, you know, that news you don't want to hear, right? It started off so good and then it moves into this place where it's like, oh, okay, I guess not. You know, and it kind of sucks ass. But with Temperance, if you just chill, be at peace, find that harmony, there's going to be greater success coming, right? I like it. A new path emerging. Yes. Expansion. This is about expanding yourself and your awareness, right? So expanding the way that you're thinking, more specifically. about the situation, right? And then psychic knowing here, we're talking about you trusting what you already know to be the truth, right? Trusting the intuition, trusting your gut. What is your gut telling you, right? But knowing that this is leading to a new path in your life. And again, with the world, that's great. You know, you may have had really crappy news come through, but just stay in control, stay in balance, and you'll be fine. You know, this has to come to a close. You're not going to see any progress with this past situation, whether we're talking about your career or whether we're talking about a relationship here. That's what you get, is the Seven of Pentacles, and it sucks ass. It's not exactly what you want, and it may have, you know, forced you to take a different direction here with the Chariot. And you may feel like maybe you moved a little bit too quickly, which could be the case here, which is why we're looking at the Eight of Swords. But the thing is you weren't meant to stay in that, which is why I think we're looking at expansion. But you need to trust that you know that that's the truth. I look at psychic knowing, and I think that, you know, for those of you who are resonating with this, you're immediately going to feel that like ping in your gut that's telling you that you're hearing truth. And you knew this, though. And that's the thing. You didn't need anybody to tell you this. But it all leads to this new path, right? I love it. I love it, Gemini. And I do hope that, you know, all of you get past whatever it is that you are struggling with. Because nobody should have to feel like life is a continuous struggle. But you are guaranteed to have a more blissful experience with joy showing up, for sure. And grounding, go deep, explore your roots. And then you got the Hermit sitting right there. Hell yeah. This is needing to go deeper within to get back to the place where you remember what it was that you were striving for. What is it that you really want? You know? What do you really want, Gemini? What is really going to bring you happiness? Situations that only go so far are not it. They're not it. And there is nothing that you could have done to create more growth with this. That is what I want to say to you. Just stay balanced, stay centered, make sure that you understand what it is that is grounding you, but know that, you know, this is all leading to greater success in your life. It's great. I love it, Gemini.